Okay, so we can see ourselves. So maybe
Well, now
we
we can see
center now.
ourselves. Yeah.
Hi. Are we live now? I think we're live.
Is the internet
I'm
watching
gonna
us?
re-angle the computer since we're doing this on my laptop, and
Are we
we
watching the
really
internet?
don't know what we're doing. But we figured we're in the same city, so we're gonna live stream. And also, I have pie because it's my first time back in Portland in a year and a half. My favorite pie place is here, so I've just been living on pie for 4 days.
And most
This
people,
is lemon meringue.
It is. Most people don't know this, but Portland is actually a sort of corrupted pronunciation of Pie Land. I believe it was from the original French settlers.
That is 100% a lie. Also, at some point, we're probably gonna bring the cat in here because the main reason for this trip is so that I can hang out with her.
We have like things on the right side of the screen. Is it people talking?
Yeah, it's technically.
Oh, it
chat.
totally is.
That is entirely unmoderated, by the way, in discordance with our usual policy, and we're really sorry about it, but we don't really know how this works. So basically, don't be terrible.
Yes,
If you're terrible, we won't be able to do anything to you in the moment, but we'll definitely publicly shame you for it later.
So one thing we should say is where the computer is right now recording us, we can only kind of see your chat. So we'll like periodically get up and see what you're saying, but we won't be able to see it right away.
Right. What we will be able to see is what you tweeted us to explain the X-Men at Twitter, which is where we're pulling questions from for the time being anyway, which you've been asking since yesterday because you are a very curious bunch of people. And we have answers to some of them. We have not really prepared for this at all.
No, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of a whirlwind trip, and we decided at the last minute to do this. So thus the X-Temperaneous thing. Should we introduce like who we are and what we're doing? I feel like there aren't a lot of people here who don't know, but I'm Jay Edidin.
I'm also Jay Edidin, weirdly.
That is a dirty lie.
Okay, no, I'm Miles Stokes. This is my house. No,
Yeah.
I apologize for the blank wall behind us. Normally there's a lovely piece of art by Erica Moen and
Lucy Nicely. But it's very pornographic.
It's filthy, so we figured not everyone would want to see that.
We're also going to try not to swear because this is live on YouTube.
That right there, though, that's a Brett Blevins original from the New Mutants Asgardian Wars. All right, I'm going to real
it's
quick.
super cool. There's an X Factor page over on the opposite wall.
You
You
can't
can't
see
see
it.
it because it's on the opposite wall. Wah, wah. This used to be my office. It was cooler.
I'm going to real quick take a look at the screen so we can see what's going on. All right.
Miles.
Yay.
Yeah.
Hello, people saying things.
We're not actually going to follow the live stream conversation. You're lovely,
We'll follow it a
come to the Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, ask someone else on the live stream to tweet on your behalf.
Someone just said they taught me dabbing. It's the thing. Is that?
We explained. Yeah, no. So dabbing is where you pretend that there's someone taller than you. You want to validate by patting them gently on the top of your head, but they're also glowing very brightly.
This is complicated. Hey, it's a cat.
Hi, Bella.
This is Bella.
She's my strange lady.
She's a excellently terrible cat.
I spent like an hour just like curled up on the floor petting her and telling her she was good yesterday. I miss her a lot. She lives in Portland with Miles because this way she gets to have access to a whole house and an outdoors. She's joining us for this live stream. She may attempt to answer some of your questions too. She's very loud. She's very old. She's lumpy and she's an absolute abomination and we adore her.
Yes. So the structure of this whole thing, Jay, like you said.
There is no structure.
Well,
normally we do a podcast called Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. It's exactly what it sounds like. You can find it at explainthexmen.com, also on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, other podcatchers that haven't asked our permission, but we know it's on at least some of them, and that's cool because it's free anyway.
Yes.
And we're also on a bunch of the social medias as also Explain the X-Men, which is spelled like Explain the X-Men, but with no E at the beginning.
So we're going to answer some questions. You sent us a lot of amazing questions. We can't answer them all. We're going to answer like a bunch, and then maybe some of the other ones we'll answer in the show sometime.
Yeah,
I don't know.
might just talk about weird stuff some too, and I'm going to eat some pie while we're talking.
That's cool. So I have a list of some questions.
You wrote
I
them down. I'm just going through Twitter.
I wrote some down.
Through our Twitter replies because I'm
Mm-hmm.
less organized than you, but I'm also traveling and I've been doing a lot of stuff.
Yes. All right. So
Busy and
I have some here. Where should we start?
what do you want to start with?
Let's do. Okay, I love this one. So Sam, that's Red Gears on Twitter, asked who has the best hat in the X universe. So I actually was initially thinking, because I'm also a giant Thor fan, as many of you know.
Oh wait, I know the answer. I know my answer to this.
Okay, I'm curious to hear your answer.
I'm going to say the answer is Ilyana Rasputin's Buckaroo Banzai baseball cap.
Oh, that's a really, really good one. Yes, I also love her various Darkchild horns and helmets and stuff. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and say that since the X-Men have crossed over a lot with Thor stuff, because, you know, back when Walt and Louise were both writing, Asgard has the canonically best hats in the whole Marvel universe. Specifically anything Jack Kirby did. Odin had like this gigantic collection of hats. He probably had like, we think there are 10 realms in modern Marvel, or actually 11. There's Hatheim. Odin keeps all of his hats there. And each one looks like a little tower, and it's got little tiny people that live in it, and they have whole economies and languages and cultures. And I love Odin for that, even though he's a total jerk in a lot of other ways.
Okay.
Also, Carnilla the Norn Queen has a great name and great hats.
Yeah.
Hela, also great hats. But as far as X stuff, okay, so we're almost at him in continuity. Adam X, the Extreme.
He just has a backward baseball cap. That's not.
But here's the thing. It's actually his Lich's phylactery. He has part of his soul in that baseball cap. And so if he dies, as long as the hat survives, he'll be okay. Now, Adam X isn't known for being the smartest X-Men character, so he wears his phylactery on his head, and it kind of negates the entire point. But I'm going to give him some credit for that.
You are full of lies.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That said,
real solid on this.
Okay, so
full of lies. Wolverine's cowboy hat is fairly iconic.
It's really good. But what about like actual superhero costume hats? I mean, we've certainly talked a great deal about Havoc's like meh thing.
Yeah, I like the big loopy one better than the like Adidas looking skull cap version of it.
Mm-hmm. I really actually like Polaris's original head thing that she wears.
Yeah, I actually also like the iteration of that on the Gifted and its origins.
Yeah, me too.
Although Magneto's bad at birthday presents, man.
Well, Magneto's not a great parent in general. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that it's differently colored, it's more feminine, but it's still clearly evocative of the Magneto thing. And given that Polaris's origin, and her origin in the Silver Age was like, I'm a normal person. Oh crap, I'm Magneto's daughter. So it really, really fits. And so when she does or does not choose to wear that, it's a nice little look into.
It's not really a hat though, it's a headband.
It's a headgear. Well, if we're going for hats, I really appreciate the Shi'ar helm hat things that carefully don't muss their feather hair. That's important.
Okay.
Because that seems like it would be, I don't know, painful. Do you think the Shi'ar have like a lot of nerve endings and where their quills go in? Feather quills?
I have not considered this extensively, and now I'm going to, and it's going to be awkward.
Well,
So
listeners,
thanks.
if any of you are Shi'ar, email us and let us know. Okay, so
what else?
What else do we have?
There's one that I found that I really liked.
Do it.
That relates to current continuity, and for some reason it's shrunk weirdly. Something's being weird. Okay, so yes, this is from Adam Rack, who is
hi Adam,
excellent fellow. Hi Adam, you rock. We love you. And Adam asks if you could create an Age of blank with any X character, who would you choose?
That's an excellent question.
I've mostly just been thinking about what all the different ones would be like.
Right. We should probably give some context. So if you're not following current X-Men continuity, the big story right now is Age of X-Men, where Nate Gray, in all of his like fishnet shirt, badass X-Men tattoo.
He doesn't wear fishnet shirts anymore, though. Now he wears a bathrobe. Bathrobe. I'm jet lagged. Hi.
He's got great telekinesis. So
pretend I haven't said anything.
Well, anyway, Nate Gray and his bathtub have made like a sort of utopia dystopia thing, and that's what's going on right now. Mm-hmm. So if another X-Men character can create their own reality, of course we've seen the Scarlet Witch do that with House of M, and that went terribly for everybody.
We've seen one of Legion's personalities do that with Age of X.
Yes, which was a phenomenal story, highly underrated. If we're talking about, honestly, this would require a lot more development of Betsy Braddock, which I would love to see because she needs more development. But I would love to see, with all of the bizarre history that Betsy's had, from being like a fashion model to temporarily Captain Britain, and then a blinded skier engaged to a guy we never saw again, and then a ninja. Oh, bye, Bella. I'd love to see what her like utopia would look like. I'd love to get a look into her ideals, factoring in all of her disparate, contradictory history. I
want Age of Brew.
Age of Brew?
Yeah.
Everyone's just very nice to each other?
Yeah. Actually, there's a trio of characters who we've seen linked to a lot of being pulled into futures and possible futures for them and versions of reality where different ones of them are in power. But I would like to see one that's a collective creation of Quentin Quire, Idi Okonkwo, and Evan Sumner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to see like they're making the world future.
That would be kind of cool because I mean, with Quentin and Evan, with Kid Omega and Kid Apocalypse, like they both know they have these grand potential destinies with the Phoenix and Apocalypse.
Grand and horrible potential destinies.
Right. And then with Edie, she's always been very scared of her powers. I mean, less so these days.
Yeah.
So basically, if the troubled youth had their own world that they created.
The troubled but also kind of grounded youth.
Troubled but grounded youth. Age of troubled but grounded youth. It's a bit of a mouthful, but there you go. Beyond that,
who else would be fun? I feel like Age of Nightcrawler would be great. It would be really swashbuckly.
I don't know that you could have that much content for it because it would just be like really fun and then.
Well, it would just be the Nightcrawler limited series. Basically.
It would just be Dave Cockram's Nightcrawler series. Yes. Let's keep that in the back of our head because I feel like there are a lot of good answers.
Age of Adam X is literally just the Adventures of Dr. McNinja.
It totally is.
Yeah, I'm good with that. That's good. Let's see.
Okay. Do you want to do another?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Let me pick a question here. What do we have?
Many things. That already got covered on Twitter, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay, well, here's a good one. So 24 panels per second asks on Twitter.
That's a lot of panels.
So many. I've been reading the epic collections of 60s era issues, and there were a few lettering mistakes, Bobby calling Warren Scotty, etc. Do you believe such errors should be corrected in reprints, or let them be just to remain true to the first publication? That's a really good question.
The latter. If you're reprinting material that has already appeared in print, and especially in the context in which, the series continuing, etc., I think that you should maintain archival stuff. You can put endnotes in it, you can put footnotes in it, whatever. But I think you should absolutely maintain those errors.
See, I go back and forth on that because, for me, if we go with the whole any comic could be someone's first, I think having like the definitive version of a comic is fine if it's a minor error. If it's like a coloring error where, a black character is colored as being white or whatever, or if it's just a clear mistake, I'm okay with that changing. But that said, you're the archival.
But there's not a reason to do it. And I think having them, that this isn't someone walking into a comic shop and saying, oh, this is a current thing, I'm going to jump into this. These are things that in current editions exist as archival artifacts.
Okay.
Like no one is going into Silver Age X-Men going, this is how I'm going to jump into X-Men.
Probably someone is.
Right, but not with the understanding that it's something that was made however many years ago. So I think keeping it in the original form is generally a really, really good idea. And I definitely think that if you make any kind of changes or corrections, discussing that explicitly in the volume it's collected in is really important.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have?
What else do we have? That is a good question.
I'm going to glance at the screen while you're looking and see what people are saying.
Okay.
Age of Surge. Oh, I'm totally into that. Oh man, people are saying so many things. Hello, you exist.
Right,
hello, listeners.
See.
And yes, Ed Pisker can totally do what he wants, just in general, really. Do I really have this much hair? I never see myself on screen.
You have so much hair.
It's getting increasingly
It's
gray.
a lot of hair, man. Gosh, let's see. If you could add a new student to be a future X-Men member, this is from Classic X Books, what trait/power would you give them?
Okay, so like a new character coming in.
So we're creating a new character whole cloth here, I think, who's going to be a new student at the school.
I feel like doing something that would tie more into modern culture would be good. Because all the simple powers are taken. Pyrokinesis, flight, having a bunch of eyeballs on your skin all over. So what was
variations on eye boy, just other facial features.
Just nose boy.
There was someone with multiple mouths all around her neck.
Oh, that's true. Actually, okay, so I'm totally on a tangent here. So there's a movie, I'm sure many of you have heard of it, called The Toxic Avenger. It was by Troma, who makes terrible, terrible movies. And it's actually there's some really not okay stuff.
They make a very specific sort of movie.
Yes.
Terrible. I'm not sure if the word terrible quite applies because terrible implies attempt at, making them something other than what they are.
Well, maybe, but the point is, this highly violent, highly offensive, awful series of films spawned a Saturday morning cartoon called The Toxic Crusaders. And it was taking something that was never for kids and making it for kids. And that's what led me, as a small Miles, to rent the first Toxic Avenger movie until my grandmother saw what was on screen and turned it off. But there was a character named No-Zone.
Mysterious,
the same grandmother, yes. There was a character named No-Zone who got mutated by, I don't know, toxic things. And he just was a great big nose, and I had his toy, and it was horrifying, and I loved it so much. I loved those terrible toys so much. There's a two-headed surfer guy. That's all I remember. And that there was a song that they sang every time they went anywhere. We're the Toxic Crusaders, and that we're pretty sure of.
But only pretty sure.
Right. This story time has been brought to you by Miles. What were we talking about?
New powers.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Okay. So my answer to this actually is I want more characters with powers that have to do with or interact with either Earth's atmosphere or the oceans.
Okay.
I want powers that directly interact with, are impacted by, or are byproducts of global warming.
That would be very current.
That would be really interesting, and I think you could do some cool stuff with it.
This is just me coming up with this.
Also,
as I say,
the more water-based characters you have, the more Namor potential you have, which is always a plus.
True.
Any given story. Very important.
If we're going for modern stuff, I kind of like the idea of playing with decentralized identity, with social media being as big of a thing as it is with the internet and sort of public versus private selves. And
so characters like Mimi from Spurrier's X-Force?
Characters like that. But so I'm thinking about somebody like Madrox, who can be multiple people and do multiple things. I'm wondering what it would be like if there was a character whose online persona was sort of externalized as a semi-separate entity. And what that would be like. I think you could explore a lot of cool stuff there. It would also be really confusing to write.
God. So, network executives who are watching, I just came up with a terrible pitch. You know Stephen King's The Dark Half? That, but with someone's internet handle instead of their pseudonym.
Yeah, okay.
No.
This just makes me think of Wraith the Oblivion, where everyone has shadows.
Have you read The Dark Half? It's a really clever concept. It's not a fantastic book.
I've read very little Stephen King. I read Insomnia, which I loved. And I read, it was like a picture book.
Should we read some Dark Tower?
I read The Gunslinger, and that was pretty good. I think it was called Seasons of the Wolf. It was a picture book, and I had like serious nightmares about it for years because I was way too young when I read it.
I really like his non-horror better than his horror. Like, his horror is cool, but yeah, I mean, I maintain that Carrie is one of the best books about teenagers and social dynamics, but... Yeah, and also
adolescence
and also that it shouldn't necessarily be shelved as horror because that's not really what it is. But it's anyway. But yeah, like I love, like The Shawshank Redemption is a fantastic novel.
I've only seen the movie, but I loved it.
So yeah, that's
my favorite Stephen King novel.
I also think his short stories are better than his novels. But
my favorite Stephen King novel is still Alan Wake for the Xbox. Okay, cool. Let's answer another question. It's really like weirding me out in a cool way. As like I said, I'm sorry we can't really see from
the
here
multiple simultaneous conversations.
But yeah, like we don't get that kind of feedback when we normally record episodes. We just sort of assume people are going to listen. So it's actually really cool. So thank you all for being here.
My mom was texting about travel.
Well, we're busy.
But I'm going to check the Twitter feed because you've got the ones you wrote down, and I'm checking on the ones that are coming in.
Dig it. Oh, here, this is a good one. Christopher Walsh, okay, Chris, asks on Twitter, final verdict on Kurt Wagner facial hair.
I'm for it.
I'm absolutely for it. Like, Nightcrawler has to be a sexy beast all the time. Not like beast, but, beast. And therefore, he has to stay current. Like, he was wearing that amazing turtleneck in early Excalibur back when everyone in America was simultaneously wearing turtlenecks. Well, that's a good one, too. And so, yeah, beards are in, as they should be, right now. And he rocks the hell out of one. He's got this debonair, like, I don't know. It fits really well.
You know what I want to see? I want to see Alan Davis drawing him with, like, the turtleneck and watch cap, but with the beard.
Okay, so have we seen Alan Davis draw many beards? Like, we've seen him draw a couple, but would his
I don't
beards
know, but I bet they'd be amazing.
Swoopy beards.
Like windblown.
Yeah. No, so we were at Books with Pictures.
Alan Davis draws great sexy mariners.
Sexy everything. We were at Books with Pictures, a wonderful comic shop in Portland last night.
The aquatic kind, not the base. I mean, he might draw good sexy baseball players too.
He might. Anyway. And there was a poster of X-Men Red with Nightcrawler with the beard, and there was actually a lengthy discussion that was occurring about how he went from, what was it, a twink to a twunk, someone said.
I was not there for that discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with the term twunk, but that's great.
I guess it's like a hunky twink. I'm not
yeah,
either.
it's a twink who's also a hunk.
Okay. Is there a snack cake called Twunkies, which they have like ads in the back of comics, but everybody's really beefy?
God, I hope so.
I hope so too. Now I just want to eat
There
a
is
Twunkie.
now.
Huh.
I would have offered you some pie, but I forgot.
Now it's gone.
I ate it all. But you live in this. You live like 15 minutes from this pie shop. By the way, the place that we got really excited, we got pie from today, which is the place that I've been eating out all weekend, which is my favorite pie place. We're getting pie from that for our Emerald City party, which I'm really excited about. It's gonna be so good.
Yeah, if you can come to Emerald City Comic Con, please do. It's a great show.
Or if you can't come to Emerald City Comic Con, but you were in Seattle that weekend, our party is going to be, as usual, at Phoenix Comics. It's going to be Saturday night. I don't remember the exact time, but it starts half an hour after the live show ends.
Mhm.
So we're basically just going to sprint straight over from the convention center, and you can follow us, and it'll be an enormous and horrifying procession. It'll be like the running of the bulls, but not
It could be
deadly, and it won't end with killing or animal cruelty or anything.
So it will be unlike the running of the bulls.
It will be
for the
like
best.
the running of the bulls, only in that there will be a large number of people moving through the streets.
Okay, check. Excellent. Anyway, also, the timing won't line up exactly, but we're going to have that be kind of our unofficial 5th podcast birthday
We are
celebration.
5. We are
Right?
not quite 5. We're almost 5. We're getting there.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit early for that, but dude, 5 years. We've been doing this for almost 5 years now.
That is several years. That is as many as there are original X-Men.
True, unless you count Tessa, the secret original X-Man, or Kid Vulcan's team, which I prefer not to think too hard about.
Or that weird continuity where like Wolverine was secretly trained before them. Basically, I don't count anything John Byrne wrote.
Not the worst policy. I did read his X-Men: The Hidden Years recently.
So did I. That's what started me not counting anything he wrote.
Fair.
This was even before I knew about his personal opinions. Like this was just sort of a nope.
Okay.
The only good thing I will say about X-Men: The Hidden Years is that Jeff Parker did some fun things with elements of it in X-Men First Class.
Mm-hmm. I dig that it acknowledges that Havoc and Polaris were on the X-Men back then, because everyone forgets that.
They were sort of on the X-Men.
They were like hanging out.
They
over there.
were dragged along with the X-Men repeatedly.
I do like that Polaris was going by Magnatrix for a while, and she immediately realized it was a terrible nickname, and Havoc kept making fun of her about it.
It's a great nickname.
It is. Let's answer a question.
Let's do. Oh, so we have a question. I like this one. This is from Liz Bianca, and Liz would like to know who should host the Phoenix next.
Jay.
Nope. Nope. Absolutely not.
Well, I actually was thinking about this one. I saw this question earlier.
Okay.
I kind of, and I'm prepared to be proven wrong, but I kind of feel like the whole Person X hosting the Phoenix Force thing, so much has been done with it. And I'm not saying that you can't do more with it, but I'd like to see something very different. I would like, honestly, to see the Phoenix incarnated as its own entity without a host. I'd like to see it either stuck in a human form or still being very powerful, but living in a human form and trying to figure that out based on its past experiences with Jean and with Rachel.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because
that.
It would be like Secret Wars 2, but good. Hopefully good.
Would someone need to teach it how to poop? I feel like having copied Jean's entire consciousness, memories, etc., it would have a grasp on that by now.
She would have all the basics down. Seriously, we did that. We did the Secret Wars episode how many years ago, and we're still talking about that part?
It's such a weird thing. It's so incredible. Like it's. I feel like we should still be talking about it. This is why there's never forget, and then the Kirby crackle and the plunger. No one should ever be allowed to forget that that's canon and that happened.
Why did we get derailed about teaching Beyond her to poop?
Phoenix hosts, and the Phoenix probably knows how to poop.
There's your pull quote for the entire stream. Everybody.
I would really like to see a timeline. Oh, you're talking about Age of whoever. I want to see a Cable one.
Cable as a host or Age of Cable?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, that would be yet another Summers Gray as a Phoenix host.
Yeah, this would be like a weird little side story or a what if or something.
Okay.
But I have been curious about the idea of Cable as a Phoenix host forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And yeah, that's all.
I kind of want to see. I want to see Farron actually get to be the Phoenix host, and then just be so smug about being the Phoenix host that he just sits around and does nothing.
Buddy.
He's just happy.
He just hangs out. No, he doesn't. He does the thing like at the end of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Oh, where he goes.
He just goes and finds everyone who said mean things to him. So instead of punching them, he just smugs at them.
Yeah. Oh, Farron. Man, so we talked about this in the podcast recently. I think the episode's already out. Yeah, it is. Where it really sucks that like Farron and Cerise and Kylan and I guess Micromax
disappeared. And it's not a shame that Micromax disappears.
But it's they have so much potential and it's sad. And
Farron was just learning how to hug.
He was just learning how to hug. Struck down in the prime of his learning to person. Anyway, you should pick a question.
I was going to say something else about Phoenix hosts because I was thinking
you were talking about Cable.
I was thinking about characters who would be really interesting as Phoenix hosts, and I was thinking about Sunspot.
Sunspot is a Phoenix host.
Yeah.
He would handle that very, very differently because he's this
He
mix
would.
of
He would handle it very differently. He would handle it in really interesting ways. And he's a character whose relationship to power is at this point. Like, Sunspot as a teenager as a Phoenix host would have been a massive epic disaster.
Yes.
No question. Current Sunspot is a guy whose relationship to power is very deliberate.
Mhm.
And who also enjoys chaos in a playful and, again, deliberate way that none of the other previous Phoenix hosts really have. The Phoenix is all about change. The Phoenix is all about evolution. The Phoenix is, about fire and birdness and a lot of unpredictable characteristics. And I think it would make for at least a really interesting story. And also, I would really like to see Sam Guthrie interacting with that situation.
Sam Guthrie, Phoenix bro?
Yeah, that's the other thing, is that I feel like the power of Bobby and Sam's friendship would prevent Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, you're totally right.
Like, there is so much love there, and Sam has his head together, and he's such a grounding influence, and he's such a good kid.
Oh man, you know what it would be
great.
like?
It would be so good.
Because I can totally see Bobby DaCosta having trouble keeping the power under control. And so they're in the blue area of the moon, and Bobby's about to pull up Krieg to blow himself up with. And then Sam comes up
and just hands him a puppy.
No, he just says, "I trust you, Bobby," and then they hug, and everything's fine. And the world is saved because of Sam Guthrie's hugs. Thank you, Sam Guthrie.
That's one of those pairs of characters who I have entirely neutral feelings on people who ship, because this is where I am. This is what I think of as the Troy and Abed rule. Because with Troy and Abed, my general thing is I'm fine with the idea of them in a relationship or having sex or whatever. I'm fine with the idea of them not. But what's extremely important to me is that their canonical dynamics stay intact.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's sort of how I feel about Sam and Bobby. Is I feel like it's a dynamic that could work in any of those situations, but it's the fundamental dynamic to which I'm attached, not the details of the relationship that surrounds it.
Yeah, I totally buy that. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know who should never host the Phoenix? Never, ever, ever, ever.
Charles Xavier.
I mean, a lot of people. Okay, yeah, also Charles Xavier. Oh, I was going to say Jamie Madrox, but
oh god, Jamie Madrox as a Phoenix host. That would also be really complicated. Like, how would that even work? If he split, would there be multiple Phoenixes?
Remember the Phoenix 5?
Of course, I remember the Phoenix 5.
Yeah.
Anyway, the best thing to come out of the Phoenix 5, I think, was Colossus getting all messed up and then hooking up with Domino, because Colossus and Domino forever. Or not like forever, but like periodically.
Colossus and Domino's relationship as a touchstone that we return to is something that was really good forever.
Yes.
It exists eternally in the literary present.
I just want to go up to Colossus. I want to have Colossus be a real person for long enough to me to say to him, "You hooking up with Domino exists eternally in the literary present," and for him to just blink a couple times, and then that's the whole interaction.
Oh, I just probably pat him on the shoulder and say, "I'm sorry, buddy.
I'm sorry about everything in your life."
Colossus is such a sad man.
He is.
He's such a sad man.
Oh man, so I've been taking notes on Uncanny 304 because we're about to record that episode tomorrow, that part of Fatal Attractions. And I think I remember writing down as a note, burning paint probably smells like sadness, because there's that scene where Colossus is burning all of his paintings.
It depends on the type of paint.
Do you think he uses oil paint, tempera paint? Which one smells like sadness?
I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
What does sadness smell like? Like Hot Pockets?
Hey, I tolerate Hot Pockets. I guess I don't really like them.
Yeah, but you also enjoy sadness.
True. There's probably a connection.
This is.
Let's answer another question. I'm gonna look at the screen.
Okay. So someone would like to know, what does sadness smell like?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Bella.
Oh, hey, Bella's here.
She is here.
Sadness smells like an X-Men comic. Yeah, probably. WizKid as the Phoenix.
Oh, here, I found a good.
Oh, that'd be great.
I found a good question.
Yes.
Which X-Men and or ex-associates are most likely to form a team behind the idea "be gay, do crimes"?
Oh, that's a great question.
So that is exactly the same as my answer to the question of age of, which is the terrible teenage triad.
Okay, so Quentin, Evan, and Edie.
Yeah.
Do you think Evan would go for that? He's so I don't know, law-abiding and squeaky clean.
I think he could be gay enough to make up for the lack of crimes.
Okay, so it's as long as you have enough of one.
Yeah,
you're okay.
You don't have to do both of this. You can there are 3 of them, so they can delegate.
Some crimes, some gay.
Right, that's how you balance your team out.
Okay, it's kind of like in You Are Deadpool, the Choose Your Own Adventure thing that
I still need
did.
to read. I will play that.
Yeah. Your 2 stats are badness and sadness. Bella's helping.
Bella would like to know.
Yes, Bella should
She's
not
so
be the
good.
Phoenix host. That would go terribly.
Oh god, yeah, she'd just eat and get petted. She'd just squawk, but she'd squawk in like an epic Firebird way.
And then it would kill a bunch of broccoli people.
I love her. She's so undignified.
She is.
When she's cleaning herself, she's shaped kind of like a deflated balloon.
Mhm.
And when she's cleaning herself, she sort of sits and slouches, but she occasionally leans to one side and does like prime draw me like your French girls pose.
Mhm.
And she also doesn't have any hair on her belly, and it's just an amazing. It's Miles.
You can sort of see.
Don't let her keep her lack of dignity. She's good. She's a good cat.
Yes,
She's beautiful.
of course.
Her body is she's strange. She's strange and lumpy and beautiful. She's like Lumpy Space Princess the cat.
Legit. Okay, I'm gonna pick a question.
Oh, okay. But be gay, do crimes combinations.
Oh, right.
Because
Yes, totally. I
I
forgot
think
we're
there
still
are
answering.
a lot. I feel like magic would be.
Ileana? Oh,
Yeah.
she's like on top.
That's already basically magic's thing.
Okay, so specifically the version of Ileana from Siege, where she was romantically involved with Leah from Journey into Mystery.
every version of Ileana,
But
of
them
Ileana,
especially.
be gay, do crimes. No, but every version.
Well, let's think about. Okay, so I feel like there are versions of Storm that could work for that. Like, young Storm.
Yukio. I mean, this is
Well,
again.
oh,
this
Yukio is the gay
Yukio
do crimes.
is gay and does crimes.
Right.
Yeah. Let's see.
Oh, hi, Bella. Now you're sitting on me.
Yeah.
This freaking
and
cat.
You get the lap warmer. I'm gonna just sort of.
She's great.
She's so good.
Yes.
I'm gonna miss her again. It's sad.
I'll send you
Sometimes I get to
pictures.
FaceTime with her and she just headbutts the phone real hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she does that when she's not FaceTiming.
Yes.
She tried to steal a pen from me really extensively when we were approving the latest episode.
Well done, Kat.
Good girl.
Okay, so now that we've definitively answered that Yukio's full legal name is Be Gay, Do Crimes.
Oh, also the Starjammers collectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, they get up to such great stuff up there in space.
Such gay, many crimes.
Such gay, many crimes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and Dr. Nemesis.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll buy that.
Well, he's from an era where it could have multiple shades of meaning, but I also feel like it is in general in keeping with his. I don't know. I think he'd be down with both gay and crimes.
Dig it. All right. I have a question we should answer.
What you got?
For Marie Kung, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but thank you for the question. What's your favorite who is dead but got better? Least favorite? Okay.
The characters or the way they died and got better?
I think we can answer either. We have power.
I
This
mean,
is my Infinity Gauntlet. It's got
Cyclops
gems.
is my favorite, and he was dead and got better, so that's sort of a fundamentally thing there. I also do like the way he came back this time. I thought it was kind of a cool touch, but it was pleasantly prosaic.
It was.
Which I appreciate.
Wait. There was a freaking Phoenix egg. How is that prosaic? I guess it's more prosaic than some retcons.
It was people set things up for him to come back, and it was literally, oh my god, Cyclops coming back from the dead was all about contingency planning, and I like that thematic consistency. Really like that thematic consistency.
Yeah. Okay, so characters that died and came back. I have to give a special shout out to the way that worked with Nightcrawler. He died saving an innocent in a way that was totally character consistent.
Went to heaven.
And then he went to heaven and fought demon pirates in heaven. His heaven was swashbuckling against demon pirates. And admittedly,
Including his dad.
Including
I'd
his
like to
stupid
think
dad.
that he was basically fighting the entire concept of the Draco as canonical. That'd be good.
But I just really appreciate that there was a story that just messed up the Marvel afterlife cosmology even more for the sole purpose of giving Kurt Wagner an afterlife, a Justice Sword, where he could fight pirates in heaven.
I have a cold. It sucks. You can't get colds over YouTube though, so you're good.
Yeah, we have no Matt Hunter right now to edit out Jay's coughing. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt's I think he's proofing our newest episode right now. Or no, he's
doing
proofed it.
corrections. We're gonna get that up later today.
We are.
We are. Probably Miles is because I have to fly back to New York.
Mhm.
It's very far away.
Turns out.
Yeah.
But okay, as far as characters that
There's so
died,
much swooping. No, I'm not Angel, so I will not be swooping topless through the polar vortex.
swooping topless through the polar vortex, the majestic Warren Kenneth Worthington III, the greatest hawk of all. I guess he died and got better. Yeah.
I wasn't very into that. Let me think. God, really good resurrections.
Honestly, the way they handled it with Jean Grey recently, I thought worked
Yeah.
very, very well.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
I think Doug Ramsey was actually pretty cool.
Him coming back into Necrotia, you mean?
Yeah, and subsequently to that, just the extent to which he's one of those rare characters for whom dying and coming back was a majorly traumatic and life-changing experience.
Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true. It's
there's
nice
that.
to actually have that acknowledgement. Like so many
Yeah.
characters come back, they're like, "Hey, I'm back. What I miss? Everything's fine." I always think back actually to Secret Wars 2, the New Mutants tie into that, where the Beyonder killed and brought back the New Mutants, and like
Yeah,
their
that was
their
good,
level
yeah.
of trauma was the plot for a while. And there was also that amazing freaking cover where they were all I don't remember if it was getting into their graves or coming out, because it was that dream sequence, I think, where they were like being put to
They were
bed in their
getting
graves.
they were going into them.
Yeah.
But it was the cover, I think, was them coming out.
Yeah. That may be my favorite right there, or at least my favorite that I can think of.
That is really, really good.
Well, it's nice to, if you're gonna do death and resurrection, if you're gonna have death be a revolving door, acknowledge that it's still significant. Don't just have it be, well, we're superheroes, whatever, we came back. Like so often you'll have a villain come back and the heroes will say, "Oh, I thought they were dead," and like that's it. There's nothing else beyond that, and the villain's just like robbing a bank. Like if I died in some significant way that involved superheroes and big fights, and I came back, I wouldn't just go back to robbing banks. I would like think about a lot of things, man. I would like sit in front of a waterfall and stare out into space and like be in intensive therapy.
What if you thought about all of those things and then decided and came to the conclusion after that thought that what you really wanted to be doing, what you would have really missed was robbing banks?
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah.
But I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
I want to steal.
I want to steal.
God, that is such a perfect. We were talking about Over the Garden Wall earlier today,
Oh, listeners,
and that
like,
the moment when the horse just thinks for a second and says, "I want to steal," is one of the best beats of comedy in anything ever made.
if seriously,
Spoiler: the horse wants to steal.
the horse wants to steal. Over the Garden Wall, if you haven't seen it, it's like a 2-hour commitment, and then you've seen the whole thing.
You
and
should watch it every autumn, religiously, every October.
Yeah, we had a small
That's
party at the
amazing.
house on the autumnal equinox this year, and we watched it. It was great.
That's September.
What did I say?
I know, but I said you should watch it every October. You watched it early.
Okay, well, apparently I watched it early.
Judging you.
I
I'm
feel
trying to do like
judged.
eyeball things.
Cyclops is way better.
No, but not like Cyclops style. I'm trying to do like symbolic glare bolts.
Glare bolts.
Yeah, glare bolts. I'm sure that there's a term for them, like Emanata, but different.
Mm-hmm. What's Emanata?
So Mort Walker wrote this book that was
Wait, Mort Walker of Beetle Bailey?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mort Walker was fantastic. He died this past year, and it was really sad.
Aw.
He was very, very old, but yeah, I went to his memorial, and it was really interesting, and I met a lot of really amazing comic strip people. So my wife is the the comics editorial director at King Features Syndicate, which is the context of the fact that I have a lot of comic strip stuff or newspaper comic strip stuff in my life now. She's neat.
She is neat.
But
That was probably nothing important.
she is friends with and knows all of those guys and those families, and the Walker family is in New England, and so we went to Mort's memorial service. But Mort Walker wrote this book whose title I am blanking on, but this is a little alert of sort of what comics are, how comics are made thing. That named a lot of the little conceits of comic strips. So the Emanata are if I remember, they're like worry lines or something like that, or things or feelings that come out of a character's body.
Okay.
There's a term for like the scratch out squiggly. These are swears in word balloons and a lot of stuff like that, and it's pretty fun.
That's
and
great.
a lot of those terms just became general lexicon.
Okay. Well, thank
in
you,
a sort
Mort
of
Walker.
casual kind of fun way.
Yeah.
I'll try to find a link to that, and I'll stick it on the Twitter or something. Or we'll be posting this stream on our website because I think it's being recorded too.
Who can say?
It's a mystery.
So, spoiler, I work in IT. I know like very specifically about the stuff I do at work, and a lot of other computer stuff just freaking baffles me. Like anything involving streaming or social media, like Jay knows so much more than I do about
The
it.
only time I have ever live streamed on YouTube before was the day after the 2016 presidential election,
Oh,
and that was
yeah.
kind of a fugue state.
Right, you did kids books.
Yeah,
right?
I just read picture books aloud for like 5 hours because I wanted to do something and I couldn't think of anything else to do, and the world was actively ending at the time.
Mm-hmm.
We are in fact recording from the last bunker, the post-apocalypse now.
There are explosions outside, sulfur rain, frogs that are made of sulfur raining down, croaking, but also like metaphorically too, because they're made of sulfur and it's not sustainable for a frog. You're wearing sunglasses, maybe that's why you can't see. There's a window over there. Let's answer a question.
I guess we must.
Okay. All right. Here's a good one. This is from Finn Carter. What do you think of major, arguably irredeemable villains such as Mystique or Sabretooth joining the X-Men?
I don't think there's such a thing as any irredeemable villain in superhero comics. Is kind of what it comes down to.
As far as them joining the X-Men, though, like, okay, so I remember.
I think Mystique always has an agenda.
Oh, absolutely.
I think the X-Men should really know better than to ever assume that she doesn't.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 400 times, shame on me.
And I do not think Sabretooth should be allowed to join the X-Men. But my feelings about those things are more like HR feelings than narrative feelings.
But no, narratively, I think it works too. So I'm thinking specifically of in the mid-ish 90s, like right before Age of Apocalypse, when Sabretooth was a prisoner, or like being rehabilitated in the X-Mansion. Because he had done some like horrible murder stuff. Oh, dude, you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
He'd done horrible murder stuff, and he had done horrible murder stuff and like assaulted and attacked and tortured multiple people who were on the team at that time. That's the thing that really bugs me.
Right. I mean, like
having Sabretooth on your team automatically. Let's talk about abuse in industries and communities.
That seems relevant.
So yeah, there are relevant conversations here. I feel like the main issue in redemption narratives in real life and those arcs are that they center the perpetrator. They are about, can this person become a better person? That needs to be the priority of the community, not, and they're even when their presence effectively bans other people from those spaces. And they don't really take into account the fact that part of that arc of owning your shit and becoming a better person. Oops, I swore on YouTube. Hi, YouTube.
It's fine.
Part of that arc of owning your actions and the harm they've done and becoming a better person is creating and leaving space for the people you've harmed to move into spaces that your presence blocked them from before. And I think that's really, really important. And so, you can say, well, we want Sabretooth to be able to redeem himself, but you also kind of want to be able to say, yeah, and we want Psylocke to not have to be on a team with a dude who's repeatedly brutalized her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whose character? Like, does she not get an arc there? Is this just not a thing? And again, that puts the responsibility for redemption or for recovery or whatever, and inclusion on the people who've been harmed by abusers. And it's just it's a crap situation. And I feel pretty strongly that when you have crossed lines on the scale that Sabretooth has, for instance, repeatedly, you don't get to be on the X-Men.
What about a character like Magneto? Like, we're coming up on Fatal
And again,
Attractions.
this is an HR perspective. This
Right.
is an if I ran the X-Men in the Marvel universe. This is not an if I ran the X-Office. Because the people who run the X-Men habitually make terrible choices, as do people who run actual businesses and communities in the real world. So there's that.
Okay. Well, what about a character like Magneto, who has less directly, ripped out the brain skeleton, but who hasn't? He's less directly traumatized individual X-Men, but he did kill, like in Fatal Attractions, for instance, thousands of people. He sunk the Leningrad in X-Men 150. So he's done some horrible crimes, but they're less directly targeted at the people he would be on the X-Men with. Because, of course, he's been in the X-Men a lot in recent years. How would you handle that?
I mean, so obviously this is always going to be an imperfect analogy, because on one hand, there's everything, and on the other hand, there is Magneto's powers versus the things the X-Men fight.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a measurable and specific thing in ways that you're not going to get in the real world. But I would say that is the equivalent of a cops and pride situation. So no. I would not put Magneto on the X-Men.
Legit. Even if there was a lady trapped in a bullet and he brought her back to show how sincere he was?
But that wasn't him going out into the community, and that wasn't him doing the equivalent of community policing or any of that stuff. That was him doing stuff internally with the X-Men as an organization, but it wasn't him being part of it wasn't him in a situation where again his presence constituted an implicit threat to people over whom he was in a position of power.
Oh. Excellent. Well, this is kind of like heavier than I was expecting, but it's a really good question.
I've actually been having a lot of conversations about exactly this in a lot of different contexts over the last week.
Does apply to real life,
not fictional characters, but basically real life situations. And I think it's a really challenging thing because we live in a culture, and this is me just going straight into the real life spaces right now. And I feel like this is germane just because this is stuff that we talk about on the podcast and that comes up within the community around it. And obviously it's coming up in the larger comics community. And if you follow my work outside of this podcast, you know what I've been doing for the last year and all of that. But basically it's challenging because on one hand, when you live in a culture that effectively grooms people and creates and normalizes abusive relationships and power dynamics, I feel like you have to have space for people to learn. Learning has to be an option. You're going to have people who screw up, who transgress in major ways and learn to do better. And don't realize initially that they were transgressing or don't realize that thing was wrong in significant ways. Like, I think we underestimate the extent to which ethics are a learned thing, and especially ethics as they relate to power dynamics. So again, there's got to be room for that. But at the same time, there's the stuff I was talking about before. There are event horizons. It's just not that there's one single big one. If you screw up, you're gone forever. Like, there are things it's reasonable to expect people to be able to get past, and there are things it's not. And there is no big objective scale for that. It's an incredibly personal and it's an incredibly situation-specific thing. And honestly, I think that's part of what creates, or part of why it's so hard to deal with problematic actors or problems online and in larger communities. And with Me Too, is that any accountability is such a new thing that we don't have models for nuance because we've just got this sudden, newly existent conversation and accountability. And there has to be accountability, but there has to be nuance and there has to be context, because again, stuff is contextual, and it's weird and it's complicated and I hate it. And the answers that I always come down to is what is the thing that we really need to do to fix this, when I try to go to more and more systemic levels, is basically get rid of patriarchy and capitalism and entirely reorganize our culture. So there's that.
I'm into it.
Me too, but it's sort of a long-term project.
Yes.
And yeah, but yeah, I feel, which is also part of why I feel really strongly about explicit policy and policy-driven rules in terms of workplaces and in terms of communities and discussion as those are created. But it's a complicated thing, and it's weird and it's awkward, and there's a lot of complicatedness to it. With regards to the general problematic thing, that's such a broad term. Like, problematic covers everything from, I mean, it covers everything. And then one of the things I keep coming back to is what is the point of identifying something as a problem is to try to address it and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Not just to get rid of it entirely, but some problems do require that approach, but not all of them. But problematic really just means we need to take a look at this and figure out how to navigate it. Not necessarily we need to throw this out the window, or we need to organize our lives around, reintegrating this. Just every dysfunctional family is dysfunctional in its own way.
Mm-hmm.
Or unhappy family. I don't know.
So, long story short, Sabretooth and Magneto should not be on the X-Men.
Or if Magneto is on the X-Men, he should not be in the X-Men in a position that involves extensive interface with or direct power over the general population.
So there you go. I feel like I've learned actually a lot right now. So thank you, Jay. Let's do another question.
Okay. Let's find a fun one.
Okay. Yes,
I mean, that one
one
was fun too. I just have bad views of fun.
Oh, here's one.
This is a sad one, actually.
Let's do this one. So Codename Speakeasy asks, what's the biggest difference between reporting together and reporting on opposite coasts?
Less pie.
Less pie, less cat. So the way we used to record, we would record at the studio of our producer. So first
Yeah.
Bobby Roberts, then Kyle Yount. Basically just in chairs next to each other with our headphones and mics.
Mm-hmm.
And now we each record in our respective bedrooms over the internet.
Yeah.
We do
Likewise
see
with headphones and mics.
likewise with headphones and mics. Yeah. We do see each other on a muted FaceTime call.
Yeah. So we do a lot of signaling at each other and making faces and occasionally holding up notes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's less the recording that feels different than basically not having the drive over.
Yeah.
More of our conversation about what's going to go on in the episode and what we're going to talk about happens via text messages now
Mm-hmm.
than happens via conversation. And while we still do usually talk for 10, 15, 20 minutes before we start recording, less of that. It's just planning takes place in a different format.
It also feels a little more, I don't know, structured, formal the way we do it now.
Yeah, which is kind of nice.
It's nice in some ways, but
It feels a little less chaotic.
it does, but like conversationally.
Pick up the plate that's on the floor before the cat eats it.
Okay.
She's a monster.
So while you're doing that, the way our remote recording works,
I have a tick neck.
it's true.
I'm gonna shut it off.
It sounds kind of funky when we talk over each other. Like it sort of muffles our voices. And so that kind of natural interplay of being able to have that more conversational, both of us talking at the same time.
There are more
sometimes.
second takes
Exactly.
in that regard.
And so I think it can feel a little less spontaneous. Hopefully the final product still seems like conversational and good. But that part's definitely a little harder. And there's just the fact that like we're never going to get audio quality as good remotely as we were able to in a studio in person.
Right.
Obviously, this right here that we're doing, we have like a Yeti set up on my desk across.
This
the
isn't
room,
in a
so-
studio in person. This is in your office, which has dubious acoustics.
Yes.
Sitting on a couch with my laptop and a Yeti after about 5 minutes of planning.
Yes.
This is-
Thank you
this
for
is
bearing
not-
with us.
This is again extemporaneous. We are here because we're in the same city. And all right, so I got another question.
All right.
This is from Joe Bortner, who asks, "What do you think of Extermination, specifically the resolution to the story of the time lost original 5?"
Okay, wait. So spoiler warning.
I don't think we need to say what it was to say what we thought of it.
Okay, we can play that game. Let's do it.
Hello?
Hey.
Oh, I was just saying hi, Bella.
Hi.
How are you?
We are live streaming. You are welcome to come in and be in it, but
This is my housemate
Oh,
Ivy.
really?
Hi, Ivy. Hi, Ivy.
Am I gonna be like 5-minute famous?
Yes.
Ivy.
Hi, world.
Ivy's
This is
great.
Ivy. Ivy has the coolest toothbrush cup in the universe.
It's got like teeth
I know
all
that's a
around
weird
it.
thing, but I think of that every time I'm here. It's
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
So yeah. X-Men, right? What are we talking about?
We were talking about the end of Extermination and the solution to the situation with the time lost original 5.
Yes.
I thought it was a good solution, and I thought the ways that the memories were handled made sense ongoing narratively. I also thought it was absolutely heartbreaking.
It
Like,
was.
It's just
yeah.
one character in particular, how that played out just freaking wrecked me.
Yeah, and I mean, I have mixed feelings because, like, I it's not so much that I identify with characters in fiction as that I greatly care about them, and I
Yeah.
certainly greatly care about the original 5. They have had just so much history built, and so to see some of the terrible things that they have to deal with in the resolution of this story, it hurts. I think it makes for good storytelling, but I think when you have characters that are points of identification for so many people, you really have to handle that carefully because you're going to be causing pain to readers, and I think you really need to make it work as a story to justify that. Whether you think that balance was handled well in Extermination the way it ended, I think that's totally an open question.
And I can say that I know for a fact that some of the ethics of that choice are going to be further addressed in comics.
Oh, that's really good to hear.
So I'm not going to tell you how I know, and I'm not going to tell you where, and I'm...
Jay's secretly writing all the X-Men books. All those people's names. It's just Jay.
Absolutely not. Nope. No. I just know that there are going to be some things that are going to come back up. And I don't know if it's going to be to anyone's satisfaction, and I don't know details, but I do know that it's not left. I think the fact that the adults got to the way the adults got all those memories back, I thought that was
It was clever.
a good touch, and
Yeah.
I think that took some of the sting out of it.
Yeah, but I do want to say, like, our opinions are our individual opinions,
Yeah.
and if if you read that and you're like, no, this is crap, I hate the way this played out, I feel this was disrespectful toward whatever group or whatever people, that's legit as well. Like, you're not wrong if you feel that way.
Our opinions do not represent, the Marvel Comics, the Xavier School, the Jean Grey School, with the Weapon X program, Department H, the Disney Corporation, trans people as a whole, queer people as a whole, Jewish people as a whole, white people as a whole, male people as a whole, female assigned people as a whole, male assigned people as a whole, brunettes as a whole.
This is going to be a very long list.
I don't know. Anyway, the point is, we're us. We're a couple very specific weirdos.
Yeah, and actually, I do want to say that, like, while we're talking to whoever is watching this, we talk a lot about our opinions, like they're right on the show,
Which
and
they are.
obviously, well, we think they're right.
Well, but the show is our own petty dictatorship. They're right in context of the show.
Exactly. So, like, if you ever disagree with us, then good on you. More power to you. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's something that we talk about a lot on the show, though, which is that there's the stuff that we like and dislike,
Mhm.
and there's the stuff that that we think is good storytelling, bad storytelling, whatever. Those overlap, but not entirely. And in general, I mean, we've talked a lot about sort of the ethics of liking things. I'm remembering specifically a question we got from a listener on Tumblr that we talked about on the show some, that we also talked about. I think I wrote a much longer response to it about liking a character whom their friends said they shouldn't like because
right.
that character had done some problematic stuff in one of their versions, and it was a character to whom they related closely, and I said that the friends were jerks, which I stand by, but I feel pretty strongly that it's entirely okay to like and dislike what you like and dislike. That liking and disliking things is not an ethical stance or conundrum, that it's okay to like and identify with things that you also recognize as problematic.
Oh, yeah.
And that it's important to think about the things you like and dislike and to examine that stuff and to not automatically assume that if you like something, that means it's good, virtuous, pure, whatever. Or that you dislike something, it's morally bankrupt.
Sam Guthrie is virtuous and pure.
Okay, yeah, Sam Guthrie is virtuous and pure. We know that. But that's different. That's whether or not you like Sam Guthrie, that's the case. You should like Sam Guthrie. But yes. You don't have to. But it's okay if you don't like Sam Guthrie. He does not have to be everyone's cup of tea.
He would understand because he's virtuous and pure.
Yeah, like one of my least favorite things on Twitter and in real life and in the world in general is people who respond to someone saying, I like this thing, by going on about how awful it is. It's like, that's not... Why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you make that choice? This isn't someone saying... And I mean, obviously, there are contexts where it's worth challenging that and more or less real world impact. But yeah, it's okay to like things. It's okay to dislike things without having a clear, ethical matrix for it. Part of what I think of as an internet purity culture that I really dislike is the idea that to dislike that you have to, and I think it goes more with like American Protestant weird morality stuff, because you see it outside that if you dislike something or like something, you have to justify that as the moral choice, not as a preference. And I think that's very silly. And I think it's also really damaging. This is turned into like, this is not the fun X-Men focused live stream we promised. I'm really sorry.
Okay, let's do something fun then.
Jay has long opinions about society and everything is bad. I'm really sorry. Okay, Tom Spielman would like to know if Quentin Quire canonically has a snotty English accent. No, he doesn't.
I think sometimes he puts one on when he's making fun of Emma Frost, who canonically does have a fake English accent.
Yeah. Okay, this is a question from Xander. Hi, Xander. Hi, Youth Squad, who also got tagged in this. You are all wonderful. I love you all. I don't have my mug because I'm visiting, but you can pretend I have. They got me a Father of the Year mug.
That's so good.
Disco Kids did. They're so good. But anyway, okay, so Xander asks, who's the best cook in the X-Mansion?
Huh.
And actually, this is a series of questions, and I like all of them, so I'm going to go with all of them. Who's the best cook in the X-Mansion? Maybe Gambit?
I actually was thinking Gambit. We do see him canonically cooking in one of the X-Men animated series. No, maybe Jean's cooking and he puts spice into it. I don't remember exactly.
I don't know, but I bet Gambit's a good cook. You know who I bet is a really good cook? I bet Wolverine's a really good cook.
Logan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's been around for ages.
Yeah.
And he's got so many different backgrounds. He can make you good Canadian food. He can make you good ancient race of wolf person food. He can make you good shampoo commercial in the opening montage of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
I also, speaking while I'm putting out shout outs, there is an X-Men themed cookbook that exists.
Oh yeah.
I got my physical copy of it last week, but I've got a couple of recipes in it, and there are a bunch of other people who do. It's really cool. Again, I'll link it somewhere where I'm talking about this, or if someone who's in the live stream or the comments wants to do that, you can. I think it's the Guide to Exceptional Baking. But that addresses a lot of sort of fan fiction approaches to which X-Men at least bake what.
I feel like
Some
Beast would be an excellent cook. He'd be like one of those culinary
Oh no,
scientists.
Beast would be a terrible cook.
No, I think he'd be great. I think because he's a bon vivant and he loves science.
Yeah, but he'd get really excited about theoretical things, and he would overextend an experiment, and he would also assume predictable factors that weren't necessarily predictable.
I don't know. I'm thinking like Avengers.
There are some things when he did it well, he would do it brilliantly. Avengers Era Beast was stoned all the time. He would make amazing brownies and like nothing else.
Okay, that's a valid point. It would just be pizza
Avengers
rolls.
Era Beast spent his days watching Gumby and getting high with Wonder Man, and that's fairly canonical.
Basically that.
But yeah, no, I feel like Beast creates exceptional culinary masterpieces, but isn't someone who can do really like improvised story cooking.
I feel like Karma would have learned to be a pretty good cook when she was raising her siblings because she felt so bad for everything they've been
Karma
through.
knows how to make yeah, but she was raising young kids, so Karma like
She knows how to make toast.
I was gonna say who probably went through long phases of only eating that one brand of chicken McNuggets.
Yeah, that may be true. Okay,
Yeah.
Valid point.
Yeah, I bet Danielle Moonstar is a pretty decent cook.
I can see that, yeah.
Because she's into a certain type of like sustainability and self-sufficiency and competence that generally extends to knowing your way around a kitchen pretty well.
I feel like she's one of those people that would cook for herself a lot. Because like for me, I'm not a very good cook, but when I do cook, it's like because I'm cooking for somebody else as well. I never cook for myself. But I feel like Danielle Moonstar, she's got the independence where she totally would.
Paige Guthrie.
Paige Guthrie?
Paige Guthrie would go to farmers markets and get really excited about new vegetables.
She'd have to be really careful so there wasn't like, little bits of skin in the food though.
Or maybe like she can make it because she can choose any substance.
Are you saying she could turn her skin into food and then
Well, I was
feed it
gonna
to
say
people?
into like seasoning.
Yeah,
It's a
canonically that
super
would work.
gross option. I don't think she'd actually do it.
I don't.
But theoretically, she possibly could.
Why would you say that? Why am I thinking about
I'm
this?
sorry.
now?
I'm
God
sorry.
damn
I
it.
shouldn't have said that. That is okay. So there are a couple more questions in this tweet.
I'm
So
stuck on the Paige Guthrie thing.
I'm really sorry. I don't think she would do that.
But she could.
I think she could. That's all. That's all. This is a difference from could and would.
Our podcast is over.
She probably did when she was cooking at the Hellfire Academy.
Oh yeah, probably.
Okay, so we're good there. Anyway, sorry. What movies did they all agree on for movie night?
Oh god. Oh, okay, I'm gonna get past this.
I think they watched just a ton of Kurosawa.
Kurosawa? I feel like Kurosawa would be way too lengthy.
Or not
and-
Kurosawa. I mean I assume that either Wolverine loves the Lone Wolf and Cub movies or everyone else perpetually writes them to troll him.
Yeah, that could be that. And I'm just imagining like Jubilee in that baby cart with all the weapons, and she's just throwing things.
I
at
would
people.
like to think that the X-Men love hackers. Because I
Everyone
think
should love
everyone should
hackers.
love hackers.
Yeah, similar like Mad Max Fury Road. They love it because I love it. But no, in terms of things
Lilo
like,
and Stitch.
well, okay, so I feel like comfort movies.
I'm
would
just
be-
listing my favorite comfort
Well,
movies.
no, let's think
now.
about this. Let's think about this because they go through a lot of trauma. So I feel like some
Uh-huh.
Miyazaki movies where there are no real bad guys and people just need to learn to
Hi
understand.
Bella, you gotta come up.
That would
come
fit.
sit with us, or are you just squawking down there?
She's just squawking and licking her lips.
Did she like come in with food in her mouth to finish eating it in here?
I think she may have.
Bella,
This cat, man.
you're a good cat.
But what about movies that like would be relevant to what the X-Men go through, to like mutant stuff? Do you think they would want to watch that, or would
I
they
think
not?
Hackers is relevant.
Well, there you go. Hackers is
I
relevant.
think Hackers is absolutely relevant in that it is set in a revolutionary queer future.
Would the X-Men like the X-Men movies?
Transhumanist. Does anyone?
I like many aspects of them.
I mean, I think the X-Men would enjoy some aspects of them. I think they'd like the 90s cartoon way better.
That's probably true. I think the X-Men, many of them would actually be really tickled by X-Men Evolution.
I think some of them would be really offended by it, though.
Yeah, probably Wolverine.
I don't think any of them would like Wolverine and the X-Men.
I love Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, but it would be more uncomfortable if it were riffing on or fictionalizing your actual life.
Oh yeah, that's true, because terrible things happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Speaking of, okay, so I think there was a question about whether
Although Cyclops should like it because being voiced by Nolan North is an honor and a privilege that no one should ever take for granted.
even if you are sad Clops.
Nolan North.
Okay, that's fair.
Nolan freaking North, man. Come on.
So there was a question earlier.
In this house, we stand Nolan North.
Here we go. Mage and Eric asks, thoughts on The Gifted Season 2?
Eh.
Okay, so I've been watching it. I'm almost caught up. I'm not quite caught up. My take on The Gifted is it's not necessarily an amazing television show, but I do think it's a very good X-Men show. I think
that I agree on.
Yeah, I think it gets a lot of what X-Men is and should be about.
I think the actor who plays the Cuckoos,
She's amazing.
The absolute MVP of she and Amy Acker are the unquestioned MVPs of the show.
See, I would say Blink. I would say that every line Blink delivers just elevates the scene that she's in.
In general, the women in the show are both better written characters and much better performers than the men.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not.
I do like Thunderbird.
It's yeah. Okay, Thunderbird is good, but what's his name?
Eclipse.
No, Vampire Bill.
What?
Like Reed. So
Vampire Bill?
I've never actually seen True Blood, but T told me really early on when we started watching that he plays a character named Vampire Bill, and somehow I could never remember Reed's name, so we just started calling him Vampire Bill. And so now I think of Reed as Vampire Bill. And I still haven't seen True Blood, but yeah, Vampire Bill.
Well, there you go. But no, The Gifted.
Yeah, and the Strucker twins just bore the hell out of me.
Oh, they don't. With me, I love them. They have so many feelings.
I had a dream last night about holding hands.
Okay, so yes, there's an awkward incest metaphor going on. That's the thing. It's the Struckers. It's a thing. We just have to accept that, and we have to move on with our lives. I will say, the version of Polaris in The Gifted is, I think, my favorite version of Polaris.
Yeah, agreed.
She's
agreed. Hands down, she's great.
Yeah,
she's great.
Bella, who's your favorite version of Polaris?
Does she want you to pick her up and put her on the couch? What does she want from us right now?
She just wants us to know that she can make noise.
This cat is equipped with a horn.
Yes.
Hi, Bella. Hi. I'm trying to take you over here.
So yeah,
I have to go back to New York without you, and it's very sad.
Yeah.
She's an Oregon cat. We've dragged her across the country before. She's very old and loud. She gets to stay here.
Yes.
And this way too, she gets to go on cat adventures on a leash in the backyard.
Yes. I'm gonna take a look at the screen and see what people are saying
about The Gifted. Oh, you're talking about all sorts of things.
Oh,
Excellent.
I really
good.
like that Erg runs the Morlocks in it because Erg is underrated and awesome, and I love him, and I think he's really interesting on the show.
I really appreciate that he comes off just like a character from Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere.
Yeah.
Like he's just so
No,
affected.
he looks a little less like he was dressed out of like the BBC's scrap room, but
yes, well.
Yeah.
So I hope The Gifted keeps going. I mean,
Me too.
Obviously, none of us know what's going to happen.
I love the way it interacts with comics canon. I love how clearly the writers are familiar with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love how much they play with bits and pieces of it without being slavishly beholden to it.
But I will say,
it's very cool.
If I can speak directly to the characters in the television show The Gifted, stop keeping secrets from each other for no reason.
Oh, but that's very true to the comics.
Okay, that's fair. That is true to X-Men. But, it's maddening. But I like it. I enjoy The Gifted.
All right. Alexander asks, if you created a team of alternate universe Wolverines and forced them to play basketball, would you call them the New York Snicks? No.
What would you call them?
I don't know, but I wouldn't call them the New York Snicks.
Well, okay.
It was a yes or no question. I answered it.
This happens on the podcast a lot when we're recording, and Jay's like, no, I'm just going to answer with one word. I'm like, but they were implying
If you ask a yes or no question, that's it. You asked a yes or no question. I think it's reasonable.
Well, okay.
Look, anyway.
Okay. All right, what else?
All right. Daniel Homer asks, if you could shape the direction of the school part of the X-Men, what would you do? And to follow up, if you could retroactively change one thing about the school aspect that's currently established, what would it be? I would have there be actual classes.
There are sometimes.
I would have there be a school psychologist who was competent.
Mirage was a pretty good school psychologist briefly. She wasn't qualified, but she was
she was a good general counselor and like student advocate, but it was a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely keep her at the school, actually. I would have her be at the school. I would stop hiring like 24-year-olds to major administrative positions.
Yeah, everybody's so young in X-Men.
I would I would have there be any pedagogy whatsoever involved in the development of the school.
Honestly, what I would do, and I think this would kind of break the comic in some ways, but I would have the school completely independent from the superhero teams.
Yeah,
I think having them merged-
having it be a feeder program is gross.
Yeah, well, there's that, and it also just puts the kids in incredible danger because of course everybody's going to keep like attacking the X-Men's headquarters.
Oh, we never got to Xander's last question of the three, which is the one I was actually most excited about. So I'm going to go back to that real quick.
Oh, okay.
Which is who are considered the youths of the mansion even when they grow older. Because
Iceman.
that's a great. Yeah, I was going to say
Iceman.
Iceman. And Iceman, I think Rain to an extent.
Wolfsbane?
Yeah.
I could see that. Now, I do remember in the New Mutant series that led into New X-Men Academy X,
Yeah.
that was actually directly addressed to Great Taylor
Yep.
because she was a teacher, but she was still very young, and then she
Yeah.
had an affair with a student, and it was Elixir of all people, which that was a weird choice. Although it made sense narratively.
Yeah, but no, and bad choices, and don't do that, Rain, and not okay.
Yes, I'm saying it was a good story, not that it was a good plan for Rain, or Elixir for that matter. But yeah, beyond that, I mean, you definitely have sort of the less mature characters. I think part of it is you have characters like, say, Glob Herman or Anole or Mercury. They've been around for ages at this point. They've been around for just years and years and years and years, and yet they're still the kids. Like, it seems like the last characters that were allowed to grow up in any capacity were the original New Mutants. Like, even Boom Boom is still one of the kids in a lot of ways. And so I don't think that's like, how the X-Men interact with each other. That's just, it's weird that continuity has slowed down to that degree. That the only characters that have really grown up are the ones from the early days of the X-Men. So that's kind of weird. I did appreciate in Christina Strange Generation X that Jubilee was allowed to grow up a little. Like, she was still clearly younger, but she was kind of an authority. I really appreciated how that was handled.
We have a lot of questions about Bella.
Oh, excellent. Well, let's finish answering this, and then we can talk about the cat
All
more.
right, I want to talk about the cat.
But yeah, so I feel like there are a million good answers to who are the youth of the the perpetual youth of the X-Men question. Anybody else you can think of?
I mean, I think there are going to be characters. I think it depends on sort of the reality, and I think it depends on how long they're at the mansion, and I think it depends on their relationship to the team. Because the kids who are mostly among their peers get to grow up in ways that kids who are the kid in a group of adults often don't.
Although it's interesting you say that because Kitty Pryde, I think, is one of the characters that's grown up the most.
I think she is an exception to that. An exception even.
Exception.
Oh, Artie and Leech.
Yeah, they got older in the Fantastic Four stuff though, but not like much
but
older.
they're still always going to be the youths. Like these
They're
are
always
going to be.
Muppets.
They're going to be the equivalent. They're going to be like how I talk about my baby cousins who are now like 30 and are still my baby cousins.
Yup. They're not really 30, are they?
Josh is almost 30.
Oh,
Josh is
God.
in his late 20s.
Time. How are these things happening?
Yeah, because he's like, I think, no, he's not. No, he's like 9 years younger than me. So he's not quite. He's in his late 20s though.
Still.
Like they can all legally drink.
Ah! Time. It's weird. Okay, what else
They're
we got?
really good. All right, I'm gonna go to the Bella questions now that she has
Bella,
she has
these are
once
about
again
you.
joined us. Hi,
You can't
Bella.
see her. She's not in frame, but she's right down there.
Hi, we love you. You're terrible. And in fact, Kimberly Bradshaw asks, would like to know, and I somehow lost this question. Just a second. I had it. It was there. It existed. It was a good question. What's terrible about your cat? Is your cat somehow a hamster or snail? Too often wearing your fishnet shirts, clawing your comics? Do tell. So it's interesting.
I love those examples.
It's interesting that you went to the is she another animal? Because mainly the thing about our cat is that she's terrible at being a cat.
Right. She sounds like a macaw, basically.
She sounds like a macaw. She's always sounded like a macaw. She has no grace. She has no dignity. She has no poise. She is not particularly coordinated. She is an exceptionally bad hunter. Just exceptionally
Her
bad.
favorite toy is a catnip-filled green stuffed pickle.
Mhm.
And so she'll just bat it around for like 2 seconds, and then she has this characteristic, unique,
Which is her very specific, I killed something, come admire me.
yeah. And then you have to
Squawk.
pet her,
And she won't stop until you do.
right? You only have to pet her for like 2 seconds, but you have to, or else she'll just keep making that noise.
Yeah, she'll often do that when she kills something and brings it to you too, which will either be a toy or like a vegetable.
Yeah, you should tell that story, Jay.
Oh yeah, so when we found her, she was.
This is our X-Men podcast.
This is our cat's origin story.
Yes.
Is that there was this little tiny black cat living under our porch when we were in North Carolina, who we found living under our porch. And she was a stray. She was very skittish. She was very young, and it became increasingly obvious that she was also pregnant. And one of our housemates started feeding her, and we were like, okay, well, she's our responsibility now, I guess. And
Or the household responsibility.
But there was already a cat in the house who belonged to our housemates who was an indoor cat. And we didn't want to bring this outdoor cat in who did not yet have a name. Until we made sure, you know, she didn't have anything that she could give to the indoor cat. And so I don't remember where this.
Well, the point is, once Bella became our cat, after she had her kittens,
so we brought her in. The original plan was for her to stay with us for long enough to have her kittens to get weaned, find homes for the kittens, get her fixed, find a home for her. And we got through everything with the last stage. And we did genuinely try, but we could not find anyone who wanted an adult cat, even one who was very friendly and very good with kids and very gentle. And also she had decided at that point that she was definitely ours. And we were just sort of like, okay, yeah, this is our cat now.
But the night that really clinched it.
So the first night she and the kittens had a room that they stayed in, that they had to stay in, because the other cat wouldn't attack them, but she was very passively hostile. And Bella at this point was chock full of like new mama cat hormones. So if Trinket hissed, Bella would just attack her immediately. So they stayed completely separated.
Mm-hmm.
And also Bella would hide the kittens, and we didn't want her to have the option of doing that in the house as a whole. Although she'd always pull them out when someone came in so she could show them off, which was
she was very proud.
She also wanted us there when she was actually having kittens. She's a really people-oriented cat in some really weird ways. She's bad at cat stuff. She's bad at cat stuff.
Right. But the hunting thing.
So the first night she was allowed out, which was after all the kittens had been rehomed, to her tremendous relief because she was real sick of them by the end. There were 6.
Mm-hmm.
She was about 8 months old. She was not really equipped for that situation. She tried.
Mm-hmm.
But so the first night we'd gotten Chinese takeout, and we'd left something out on the counter when we'd gone to bed because we'd been really tired. It was broccoli, and we assumed, and Trinket had no interest in person food. And we hear next to my side of the bed this really loud, excited squawk, and I reach down and there's a piece of broccoli,
like still with the sauce on it.
Yeah, and then cat feet sprinting off. And I'm like, okay, so that happened. Then a moment later, cat feet sprinting back, really loud squawk by Miles' side of the bed. She's brought him one too, and we're just like, oh yes,
she killed broccoli for each of us.
You are ours. Several years later, she worried a large waffle covered with whipped cream to death in the middle of the living room floor.
So that's the cat.
She's special. But yeah, she's really bad at all the things cats are supposed to be good at. And she's shaped like a deflated balloon, and she makes parrot noises. And she just sort of wanders around yelling. She's not deaf or anything. She's just really loud.
She's just weird.
So that's her. Oh, and she's when I worked at home, and I assume she'd still do this. I worked on a laptop a lot, and she'd fall asleep in my lap, lying across my arms. I actually developed wrist problems from this, but with her head on my hands, and she drools in her sleep. So she'd drool all over the keyboard. And yeah, so she's incredibly sweet, and she's incredibly friendly, but she's just sort of awful too. We love her very much.
She is Legion. She contains multitudes, but not that Legion.
So we have a couple other Bella questions that I want to address because they're fun.
Although it occurs to me it's almost X-Star time. We should probably do it.
Yeah, we should. So we've got 2 together that I'm just going to put together. One is from Reed, but not Vampire Bill Reed. This is a Reed who has a distinct personality and is far better written and performed by virtue of being a real person.
Hey, Reed Strucker is good at not telling people things until way after he should. That's a trait. I actually really like his performance in this season. I just like the Gifted.
You just like people who are upset on television. Man.
I like people who are upset on television.
But anyway, Reed asks, if Bella was an X character, what would be her mutant power and codename? And Tim Mayton asks, immediately before that, which X-Men villain would Bella get on best with?
Oh, that's a really good question.
I think Bella would get along really well with Apocalypse.
How so?
I think Apocalypse would just really appreciate her.
Okay. I mean, the thing is, she's sort of like an evolutionary nightmare. I mean, domesticated cats all are.
Yeah.
All right.
I think, and I mean, she absolutely wouldn't be able to survive on her own. But I feel like she would be sort of the weird paradoxical thing in this situation. I think Mr. Sinister would hate her.
Strife and Bella would be kindred spirits, in that they both really just want attention.
Well, yeah, but
and they're kind of
she wouldn't like Strife because she likes sitting on fabric. She wouldn't be into the metal surfaces thing.
She could nestle in his cape.
Oh, she could nestle in his cape. That is true. Let me think. Who would she get along well with? I feel like she and Toad are kind of similar.
In that they jump everywhere and have too
No,
many
and that
teeth.
they're kind of terrible, but like really mostly defined by their attachment to people who have direct power over them.
Oh,
But also like typically voiced with really terrible strident voices
okay.
and kind of weird looking.
As far as what was the first
And
question?
drool.
Yeah, does Toad drool? I guess he's
He's
got the
got
spit
thing,
in
yeah.
Evolution and in the movies.
No, maybe not Toad. I don't. What villain would she get along best with? I mean, I think they would all love her. I think Destiny would love her.
Destiny?
Destiny would love her partly too because Destiny is blind and Bella is a very tactile and auditory oriented cat.
Oh, yeah, see, that'd be perfect. Also, Destiny is just like the supervillain who's just super nice and good, even though she's
Yeah.
technically a supervillain.
Yeah, I think Mystique would appreciate just how terrible Bella is.
That's probably true.
But I think she would get frustrated with Bella's general dependence.
Yeah,
Oh, she's doing the thing where she sits on one of her laps but puts one paw on the other.
it's true. Okay, well, let's
Look at
do
you, you're beautiful. I'm gonna take a
um,
picture of her.
excellent.
All right, so we need her powers and code name.
Powers and codename.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what powers? So I feel like getting attention is one of Bella's defining motivations. So maybe some sort of like a pheromonal power to draw people to her, and not just toxoplasmosis.
Wait, what if it was like the reverse of a Dazzler power? What if she had the ability to turn like something ambient into sound?
She has the ability to turn her hunger into sound when she's really hungry.
Yeah.
And then at that point, she'll just like Reva Page blast your eardrums, or I guess Siren or Banshee. Reva Page's powers are different. Yep. Okay, let's do some excellent questions.
So good. She's a strange lady. I mean, we call her Monster Beast a lot, so
We do.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
So we've
Strange lady. She's our strange lady.
yes. Okay, here's one that I know, Jay, you mentioned earlier. Devin Tui asks, does Xavier's have tenure? If so, is it lost when someone dies and comes back to life? If so, is there a difference between actual death and resurrection and mistakenly assumed death? That's a great question.
That's horrifying, and I'm really happy about it.
Yes. Devin originally.
Devin was the person who wrote that amazing PSA about graduate student funding.
It's true, yes.
So clearly this is becoming a running theme with you, Devin.
Yes.
Should we worry about you? Do we need to stage an intervention? Is your advisor a living monolith?
Ooh, yeah, you don't want that.
No,
You don't want
avoid
that. They'll put you in a weird like Egyptian skirt looking thing, and then you have a
That's how
gun
you
on
end
your
up
head.
ADD for the next 50 years. But,
Exactly.
Tenure.
Tenure at the
Tenure.
Xavier School. Well, okay, so the thing is,
I mean, I imagine that would be an issue with the Marvel Universe in general.
But
The Xavier School doesn't have tenure. The Xavier School does not have HR, and the Xavier School definitely doesn't have the kind of collective bargaining or standard institutional systems that lead to tenure.
well, they don't have tenure because Cyclops was able to just kick Xavier out, and I don't think he could have kicked him out if there was tenure. Right?
I mean, I think there are things that you can get fired or disciplined for if you have tenure. I don't think tenure makes you completely untouchable.
So, like Deadly Genesis, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrible retcons.
Yeah.
But I feel like they would have had to address the death and resurrection thing because, at first
They
it was
would, yeah.
rare, characters would stay dead, but eventually death became such a revolving door that they probably have to have some kind of official policy on this.
I would assume that tenure extends beyond death
Okay. Now, is that just for like philosophical purposes?
as an option.
Like an emeritus kind of thing?
Yeah, probably. That you have at least the option of coming back to the school either as a professor or a professor emeritus.
Okay.
Once you're resurrected.
Okay, so you're resurrected, and assuming you don't just go start robbing banks like we were talking about earlier,
Which
then
you
at
can.
that point you have a decision to make. Do you want to be an emeritus, a professor emeritus, or a professor?
Just gonna keep taking pictures of the cat. She's very cute.
She's not the most photogenic, but she is very cute.
She's pretty. She's good. She
All right.
works.
So do we want to do like one or two more questions, and then we can, I don't know, have some
Yeah.
sort of conclusion?
No conclusion. Oh, although that reminds me, the word conclusion reminds me that I found out that back in the old days, in the early days of capital F fandom, when it was Star Trek and it was Kirk and Spock, Kirk / Spock was referred to sort of code wise as the premise, as in, are you aware of the premise? What do you think of the premise, etc.?
I feel like that would be a good euphemism for one's genitals. Behold the premise! And then your genitals are just Kirk and Spock making out, and it's really troubling.
There's some really great fan art of them as like a unicorn and a centaur.
I've seen that fan art.
Not your genitals, Kirk and Spock.
Right.
Yeah. It's really charming.
Hello, listeners.
It's really charming. The same artist has also done like ones of them both as merpeople and butterflies, and it's
That's adorable.
I don't know. It's really amazing. It has a spot deep in my heart of just sort of like this is pure and beautiful and kind of baffling, but it was called The Premise.
Okay. Yes. Right.
And if you think of that, and I doubt they were aware of it, but the it kind of gives a whole new spin to the Mrs. Premise and Mrs. Conclusion Monty Python sketches.
Jay, that was such a combination of deep cuts.
Yeah.
I'm so impressed.
But the premise is exciting. That was a really cool thing to learn about.
To tangent off that though, so sometimes I wonder this, like, we have so many weird little references and inside jokes. I kind of wonder if it's like Mystery Science Theater, where you just sort of have to go, I don't know why that was funny, but I'm just going to assume it was funny when people listen to our show.
I mean, I think like Mystery Science Theater 3000, there are jokes that people get and jokes that people don't get and jokes that people do and don't explain to each other. And that, that's something you get anytime that you have something that's highly referential in a product, mostly of specific people's senses of humor.
Oh, legit. Although now I really want to see what people are saying on the screen about this. Excuse me, Bella.
Let's see. Oh, God, dude, you made her so happy.
Behold the premise.
Someone wrote, Bella and Jonathan team up when?
What? Oh, Bella?
No, Bella doesn't like other animals.
She doesn't.
She really doesn't like other animals.
No.
She tolerated her kittens, like, barely.
Mm-hmm. She just likes
Let's
people.
see.
She wants all the attention.
I'm gonna find the
from people.
Gravity Falls question because I really liked it.
Okay.
It involved Gravity Falls cross-casting, and the only thing I was absolutely certain on was that Mabel would be Honey Badger, by extension of which Jonathan would be Waddles.
Yeah, okay. For some reason, I had it in my head that Grunkle Stan would be Dark Beast, and I can't really articulate why. Except,
see, I thought about that a lot and decided he would be Phantomax.
I can see that too. He's built more like Dark Beast.
Well, yeah.
That really shouldn't matter at all, but
Yeah, but he's. Oh wait, no. We talked about it. Then we decided he was Havoc.
Grunkle Stan.
Yeah.
Oh right, because he's got the brother.
But specifically, he and that Stan and Ford are the Havoc and Cyclops of the Mutant X universe.
Right.
Not the other ones.
Because Havoc has to be a Mutant X, which is a downside, but Cyclops is like a happy, well-adjusted space pirate.
Well, and Havoc is stuck dealing with this complex and incredibly hostile universe in which he's suddenly responsible for like its basic integrity, but can't talk to anyone about it.
So who's Bloodstorm?
Wendy?
Yeah, okay. I'm into this.
I'm good with Bloodstorm as Wendy.
All right, Bloodstorm is Wendy. There, you heard it here first.
I have trouble coming up with who Dipper would be. Like Alistair Stewart, maybe?
Maybe. Alistair Stewart, though, is like a perpetual
No.
supporting character, and it's really important to Dipper to be
Dipper's
a protagonist.
protagonist.
Yeah. Huh.
Dipper's so good.
He is so good. Gravity Falls is so
like
good.
Dipper tries hard.
Yes. Okay, let's
He's
do
got a
like...
lot in common with Sunspot.
Wait, what?
Just in terms of like wanting to be one of the teenagers.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. That's
and
true.
like being extremely earnest.
But Sunspot is overconfident, and Dipper's like underconfident.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
Sometimes Dipper is sometimes also overconfident.
That's true. Okay, find us another question,
Dipper be
and
Warlock?
then Dipper could... No, Warlock is also too much of a...
Oh, I actually also want to share something related to Connection. This is X-Men related though.
Oh, okay.
Which is that there was a conversation on the Discord about cross-casting X-Men and The Good Place, and someone was trying to figure out who Chidi would be, and I came up with an answer that I'm really proud of.
It's a good answer.
And I think it's Jamie Madrox. I think it's Multiple Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to explain that.
Well, there you go.
You can work it out. I think it's pretty self-evident. I actually do think it's pretty self-evident. But just externalized indecision.
Mhm.
Okay, one more question.
Yes.
One more question. I can't believe it's 6. This is nuts.
I know. Time is really flying here.
God, hi Bella, you're very
This is
loud.
fun. We should do this whenever you're in town, or whenever I'm in
Or
town.
whenever you're in town,
Yeah.
or sometimes otherwise randomly. Someone tweeted a picture of us and a link but back onto it, but they tagged us and it's going in circles and I'm really confused by anything.
It's like those spirals in Dark City.
Just a moment. Things, stuff.
Twitter is so full of tweets.
Okay. So this is a question from Glowbug, this is to me.
I'll just sit here.
Glowbug is wondering whether it's the penciler or the letterer who does all or most of the sound effects like booms. Totally depends on the creative team.
Yeah. I talked to Walter Simonson about that on my Thor show, and I'm trying to remember what he actually said.
That was mostly John Workman.
John Workman's great.
You can see that. Well, you can see that in the Thor, the book you've got that has the layouts, because the sound effects are on the overlays. They're not on the pencils.
That's true.
But yeah, totally depends. And I think a lot of the coolest sound effects and integration of sound effects into art happen when the penciler does them. But it really depends on the creator.
You know who I really like for that?
Who?
Russell Dodderman.
Yeah.
Russell Dodderman integrating sound
Russell
effects
Dodderman is
into
great
Thor.
at that. I think I'm blanking on Nathan Fox. Nathan Fox is amazing at that.
Sweet.
Doing sound effects in this line art. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna do last one. This is a good last question. This is from Syl, who asks, "What modern cartoon would the New Mutants have liked if it had been around when they were teens?"
Oh, that's a good question.
I think. Are you kidding? That they would have been so into Steven Universe.
I feel like different members would have been.
They would have all ended up deeply invested in Steven Universe.
I think at first, like a character like Sunspot would have been really resistant because he's like, "Oh no, this is like a."
And then he would have gotten
thing.
super into it, and there would have been like a lot of tears.
But he would have rationalized how it was like super, macho and stuff.
And then he would have just gotten over that and just been super into it.
Yeah, Wolfsbane would have just started crying at minute 2.
Wolfsbane would have been the first one who was into it.
Yeah.
And like she and Sam would have ended up watching it together because Sam would think it was a kid show. It's Steven Universe is like Steven Universe sneaks up on you. So
yeah.
And Sam would have watched it because he would just be like, "This is sweet. Yeah, this is nice." My little cousins would have, or my little siblings, my millions of variable siblings would have liked this. And the other kids would probably wander in and be into it. And Doug and Warlock probably from very early on would be into the cosmology of it. And they would eventually all just be super into it.
Well, wait, let's think about this though, because throughout New Mutants, Warlock is learning to person, largely from media. And he would have ended up such a wonderful, sweet robot boy, even more.
But he would have been really into the idea of fusions.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. That would really the subtext is already there with Warlock and Doug, but it would be like there.
And he would have been he would have identified with the ways in which the gems are a lot more powerful than and somewhat baffled by humanity.
Yeah. I really like this answer more and more.
Yeah, like I think the New Mutants would have been very into Steven Universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what else.
I mean, I don't watch very much TV, so I don't necessarily have any good answers.
Cartoons that I really like that are current cartoons. I've been watching like self-contained cartoons, like Netflix things. I watched She-Ra. She-Ra is great. Watched Carmen Sandiego.
There's a new Carmen Sandiego?
Yeah, it's a cartoon series. It is very cool.
Oh, nice.
And the voice of Carmen Sandiego is the actress who plays the main character of Jane the Virgin, which is one of the greatest television shows of all time.
I've also never seen that. I've seen so few things.
Jane the Virgin is brilliant. Jane the Virgin is secretly the incredibly media-savvy, self-aware, politically progressive, funny, high drama, full of heart, like self-lampshading show that every nerd dreams of finding, but they haven't given it a chance because the genre in which it's self-aware and recursive is telenovelas, and so they discount it.
That you're selling it pretty hard, dude.
It is so good. I cannot oversell Jane the Virgin. It is brilliant.
Dude.
My favorite character is the narrator.
I have nothing to add. I don't know anything about it.
Oh my god, you'd love it so much.
You do know my taste pretty well.
I'm really obsessed with Rogelio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, so we have answered some questions. Many of them even had answers that may have been potentially relevant or useful.
And you got to spend some quality time with the cat, and I got to spend some quality time with the cat, which is really a lot of the pretext of this.
Yes. But yeah, thank you all for showing up and watching and listening to us ramble about a variety of topics.
You're delightful.
Yeah,
and you can tune back into to explainthex-men.com or us on iTunes, Stitcher, or whatever later tonight for an episode all about the first 2 issues of Marvel Unlimited.
Of X-Men Unlimited.
X-Men Unlimited, yes.
Which is on Marvel Unlimited.
Which is on Marvel Unlimited.
But yes,
lag.
It's really gratifying to to know that you want to watch us talk about things. That's awesome, and we really appreciate it. Yes, you're very neat.
And we'll see you at Emerald City.
Yes, if you can, please come to Emerald City and say hi.
It's going to be really fun. We're going to have a party, and we're going to have a live show, and we're going to have a lot of stuff. We're going to have Emma Frost prayer candles. We're going to have a second Our Lady prayer candle that I'm really excited about.
Yeah,
second of the series that Dylan's working on right now. We'll do fist bumps.
Mm-hmm. So we will see some of you there, and some of you on the internet, and some of you at various undisclosed future events and situations,
and some of you in the time stream
in the future, because that's where all of us will spend the rest of our lives.
Thank you, Criswell.
You're welcome. Okay, thanks. We'll push the button. Thanks, everybody. You're great. We like you a lot. Thank you for being here.
Okay, shall we push the button?
Yes.
I don't know how to start this.
It's the red thing.
All right. Bye. Yes, I'm sure I want to